Alright, so we're back with Helldivers 2 and the RTX 4070 Ti. I took down my video of last night because for some reason all the stuttering issues went away like almost immediately after I uploaded the video. There was a patch in between. I'd struggled with this game since it launched, and it was 9 hours since it launched before I started recording my first video, and in that time I could not get rid of the stutters at all. I'll show you just a quick snippet of what actually was happening, but this was my experience whether I restarted the PC, restarted the game, reinstalled new drivers, but soon after it was fixed. Not entirely sure what did it. Alright, anyway, so we'll be testing at 1080p, 1440p and 4K with this GPU. We're pairing this GPU with a 14600KF CPU. That again is paired with DDR5 6400 megatransfers per second CL32 memory, 32 gigabytes of it, and the rest of the specs are on the screen right now. So we'll just go down there and then we'll start our benchmark run. Alright, so we're down here now, and just going to show you the settings quickly. We're at 1080p on the Ultra preset, if I can actually get there. So 1080p, and the preset is just Ultra. We don't have FSR or DLSS or XeSS. What you do have here is render scale, which you can switch between different presets or different modes. So we'll be just be using the native preset here, and that's pretty much it, right? The rest of the stuff is just as per the preset. Yesterday I did say that we are CPU bound in at 1080p, but even though the GPU usage is sitting at around 95%, we're not really CPU bound. And I got a friend. This is going to be irritating. So, like, even though it does seem like we are CPU bound, we are actually not. Going the wrong way. So let's just go this way, get some fighting and stuff, and then we'll see what the performance is like. But as you can see, the stuttering is a lot less than my video of yesterday, and this is actually now a pretty good experience. And here we have some enemies. I just want to show you the fighting. Like, it's really not an issue now with the stuttering at all. But as you can see here, we had an average there of 123 frames per second. Our 1% layers are sitting at 111, and our 0.1% layers are sitting at 101. So very, very good actually, especially compared to yesterday. All right, so whilst he's busy fighting there, let's just drop this down to the high preset quickly. Hopefully we don't die because the game does not pause. All right, so on the high preset, and let's just reset our numbers. And we gained, let me just reset it again, sorry. So we gained around 10, 15, 20 frames per second here. Not CPU bound, which is quite funny, seeing that we are definitely not making full use of the GPU here, or the game is not making full use of the GPU. The GPU power is sitting at 208 watts, whereas I mean this usually sits at around 250 watts plus when running at stock. So definitely some optimization still needed on the GPU front, I believe. Am I going the wrong way? No, I'm going the right way. All right, but not going to be testing too much at 1080p here. Let's just move this down to the medium preset, and then we'll move over to 1440p. All right, so on the medium preset, texture quality still stays at ultra, so that only affects VRAM, and we should have enough. As you can see, the game uses very little VRAM actually. Currently, it's only at 4.4 gigabytes, but even at 4K, it uses like just over 5 gigabytes, which is pretty good actually. Do we have VSync enabled? No, we don't. Okay, so I'm just making sure it's connected internally to 150, 165 hertz panel, and with VSync on it, limited to 158. So looking down, you can just go past that limit, and that's fine. All right, there was one or two stutters here. Not too terrible, but there's a lot happening on the screen here as well. Explosions and stuff. Not sure what we will find once we actually reach our destination here, but it does seem to be completely overrun with enemies. I keep on exploding, and I don't know on what. Maybe I should just open my eyes. All right, so as you can see, we're getting a pretty good experience here at 1080p, but that's to be expected. It's a very decent CPU, it's a very decent GPU. Not many people will be playing at 1080p, so as soon as all these enemies are dead, we'll be moving on to 1440p. So whilst he's fighting, I'll just move this on to 1440p, and we'll be testing on the ultra preset again. Right, so on the ultra preset, 1440p, and let's just get up Alt is actually dive in this game, and Alt is one of my overlay keys. So every time I either reset the number or I bring up the overlay, my guy just dives. Right, so we're getting in the 90s here, which is definitely not terrible, seeing that it is native and it is ultra. The low preset, like we get pretty much double our frame rate if we do move down to the low preset, and I'll probably die here if my guy can actually remember to reload his gun. So if we move down to the low preset, we just remember this, we're getting around 90 frames per second. We do get around 160 frames per second on the low preset, which is quite interesting, but the game does look terrible on the low preset. Just keep that in mind. Now, this game does not have a DLSS or XeSS or FSR or anything, so you can't make use of any deep learned anti-aliasing. The game just has its own built-in AA. Oh, come on. He's completing the missions. I'm running out of time here to complete the benchmark. Okay, so we need to extract now. So, okay, we won't extract. I'll just run around a little bit. I think he's trying to kill me because he's angry that I did not really participate in this mission or contribute. So, there we go. Okay, so getting around 90 frames per second. I know I keep on saying that, but I keep on getting distracted. Not a terrible experience at all, considering it's on Ultra. The Ultra preset is quite demanding in this game. So whilst all this is happening, let's just drop this down to the high preset. All right, so on the high preset, luckily the game changes the graphical settings quite quickly. I do have ammo here, so I can actually stay longer now. Okay, so we gained around 10 frames per second, 10, 15 frames per second. We're at around 95, right? And now we're at around 110. So a pretty decent bump in performance, just going from ultra to high. This is probably where I'd be playing this game on my 4070 Ti at 1440p on the high preset. I haven't played around too much with render resolution scale, but like the performance is pretty good like this. 100 frames per second, getting a high refresh rate experience here, and very little stuttering. Like nothing like we had last night. All right, so this is on the high preset. Just going to go through the presets a little bit quicker, and all right, let's see what the medium preset does here for us. All right, so on the medium preset, just want to show you one thing. If you change the presets here, it doesn't show you what changes unless you apply. So it's just kind of strange, not something I'm used to. Usually it does show you what changes before you actually hit apply. And now on the medium preset, let's just reset our numbers, and we didn't gain much. Okay, maybe. We were getting around 115 frames per second at times earlier, and it seems to hover between 115 and 120 frames per second here. So not that big of a jump going from high to medium. So like if you are looking for a frame rate boost, then obviously you can play around with the render resolution scale. Shuttle inbound in. Do I have to extract? Hope I don't have to extract. My friend's going to die because the moment you start extracting, the monsters actually swarm you. So I think he's going to die. Anyway, so just going to kill these two monsters, and then we'll drop this down to the low preset, and then we'll test 4K. What's that? Anyway, we're probably going to die here, but I'll just switch this down to the low preset, and let's see what happens. All right, so on the low preset, and let's see, is he going to? He did. Okay, so he helped me a little bit there. Okay, so my buddy did help there quite a bit. And now we're getting around 170 frames per second again. So not a big difference. Oops. Not a big difference between the medium and the high preset, but a big difference between low and medium. But yesterday when I was testing this, the pop-in was really ridiculous. Like the low preset does not look good at all. But if you want to play at 165 frames per second, then this is what you can do. Although I'd highly advise against it. It just does not look good at all. All right, so whilst I'm making my buddy angry, I'm really sorry. I don't know how to just play this game completely single player without people joining my session. I do think that I did spoil his gaming session now. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. He'll be okay. I'm just going to change this to 4K, and let's see what happens. All right, so we're back, and now we're at 4K on the Ultra preset. My buddy extracted and found a way to play single player by just selecting my game mode to friends only. I don't have friends that play this game. I mean, I don't have friends, so no risk of anybody joining here at all. And on the Ultra preset, we're not getting a consistent 60 frames per second, but it's pretty close. But now the game difficulty is actually on medium, so I will die a few times, unfortunately, but that's just the way it goes. I couldn't change the difficulty. I think operations have certain difficulty levels, and as you select an operation, that's just the difficulty level that gets assigned. Anyway, getting almost 60 frames per second, yeah, and that's fine because the game is actually, or the system requirements mention that the 4070 Ti is good for 4K 60, and I do think that they mean on the high preset. This is on ultra, and as we saw, there's quite a bit of a difference between the high and the ultra preset. Maybe not that big, but big enough to maybe push us over that 60 frames per second mark. I do believe we should be able to get 60 frames per second on the high preset. Not going to be testing too long here, and so let's go ahead and drop this down to the high preset. All right, so the high preset, just want to show you 4K native. So off we go, and we gained around 10%, maybe around 10%. I'm going to quote it. But I do think we should be able to stay above 60 frames per second now at all times. I know that this is another operation, but the performance doesn't seem to differ that much between operations, unless the time of day changes. At night, it seems to perform slightly better. So that's why I just chose an operation that's also at daytime. All the daytime missions seem to perform pretty similar. Not entirely sure what I'm supposed to be doing. After benchmarking this game, I'll probably just start a new profile, do the tutorial from scratch. I just wanted to rush to get to a point where I can actually benchmark the game, and I was going to refund it due to all the stuttering issues in my previous video, but it's actually not terrible now. I might actually start playing this game. All right, so getting an average of 67 frames per second, our 1% laser sitting at 61, and our 0.1% laser sitting at 58, which is pretty good. It's a very consistent experience, this, and definitely if you want 4K 60, then this is pretty much the way to go. We did drop below 60 there for like half a second, but you'll get a pretty consistent 60 frames per second experience on the 4K high preset. All right, let's just drop this down to the medium preset, and then we'll drop down to low, and then that's the end of this video. All right, so on the medium preset, like previously, I saw around 5 frames per second increase with each preset we change at 4K, and it seems to hold up here. We went from, like, let's call it 60, a break action shotgun, that's what I want. As we went from 60 frames per second to 65 frames per second, and now on to 70 frames per second, give or take. Can I not get my gun back? That's going to be an issue. I still have my gun. Okay. All right, never mind. Just a rookie mistake. So as you can see, getting around 70 frames per second. Like, this will probably not drop below 60 at all. Maybe it'll stutter below 60 at times, but as we saw, the stuttering issues are very minimal now, which is definitely great to see. Not like I was pretty frustrated in my video last night, as I tried everything and I couldn't get the stuttering issues resolved. Some other people did not have the stuttering issues on AMD CPUs, which makes me believe it might have been an E-core issue, and the patch might have resolved that. Like, I'm really not sure. Anyway, this is that's how it goes sometimes. So we had an average here of a nice 69 frames per second. Our 1% laser sitting at 63, and our 0.1% laser sitting at 60. So once again, a very consistent experience here. Let's just drop this down to the low preset, and just keep this in mind. We gained 5 frames per second each time, but just watch what happens when we drop this down to the low preset. All right, so on the low preset, still texture quality on ultra. Am I dying? What's happening with my shotgun here? Okay. So we gained around 30 frames per second. Like, that's insane. Just going from the medium preset to the low preset. But once again, it's very obvious that we are playing on the low preset. If you play this game yourself, you'll see, like, all the pop in, everything. Like just look at the plants I'm looking at now in the distance. The foliage, there's popping and there's popping. So like it pops in 2 or 3 times before it's actually fully displayed. So that can be jarring, and I'm not sure if it'll give you an advantage in this game. I don't think so, unless if we look here, I could have sworn that like the foliage disappears, right? So maybe you'll be able to spot enemies a little bit easier, but the low preset, I'd avoid that. We had a pretty decent experience on the medium preset at 4K, even on the high preset at 4K. Is there fighting there, or is that just graphical issues? Might just be graphical issues. Anyway, so we had an average of 101 frames per second. Our 1% lows are sitting at 89, and our 0.1% lows are sitting at 87. Once again, a very decent experience. Much better than last night. I keep on saying that, but I tested it on 2 systems. It was horrible, and I'm glad to see that it's running pretty well now. All right, so that's going to be the end of this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and as always, we hope to see you in the next one.